Silence is not the absence of sound, it is the presence of inner awareness. In today's world, many women feel pressured to speak, to explain, to justify their existence, their choices, their values. But when a woman embraces silence, not out of fear but from strength, something shifts. Silence becomes her sanctuary. It becomes the space where clarity grows. A silent woman is not weak, she is composed, she listens, not to reply but to understand, to observe, to absorb the energy of the environment without letting it consume her. In her stillness, she gathers strength. Just like water, she may appear calm on the surface, but underneath, she is deep and powerful. When you stop responding to every challenge with words, when you no longer allow the external noise to dictate your inner world, you begin to master your own energy. And when you master your energy, everything around you begins to rearrange, not by force, but by alignment. So ask yourself, not how can I be louder, but how can I be more centered? The path of inner peace often begins when we no longer feel the need to explain ourselves to those who refuse to understand us. To focus on the self is not selfish, it is sacred. In martial arts and in the temple, we do not train to overpower others, we train to master the self. The same principle applies to life. When a woman turns inward, not in isolation but in devotion, she begins to meet the truest version of herself. The modern world encourages comparison. You scroll, you compare, and you lose connection to your essence. But the inward path teaches that no flower competes with another. It simply blooms. When you retreat from distractions and tend to your inner garden, the beauty within you starts to blossom effortlessly. Self-focus means asking deep questions. Who am I beneath the roles? What do I truly value? What nourishes my soul? When you live from this place of self-knowing, your actions become precise, your boundaries clear, and your energy protected. There is power in a woman who knows herself, not from titles or validation, but from inner stillness. When she returns to herself, life around her naturally begins to reorient, because she is no longer seeking, she is being. Detachment is not indifference, it is clarity. It is the wisdom to know what is yours to carry and what must be let go. When a woman detaches from drama, from needing to be right, from trying to please, she finds herself again. This kind of detachment is trained. Just as the martial artist learns to hold back unnecessary movements, so too must the inner warrior learn when to respond and when to remain unmoved. Detachment allows space, and in that space, transformation occurs. You do not have to participate in every emotional invitation that comes your way. Not every comment deserves a response. Not every disagreement needs your energy. When you detach, you conserve. You reclaim your power from situations that never deserved it. In detachment, there is dignity. A woman rooted in her values who walks away instead of reacting teaches the world how to treat her, not with force, but with quiet certainty. Before you walk with others, you must learn to walk alone. Solitude is the training ground for spiritual strength. It is in solitude that you learn your limits and then transcend them. For women especially, walking alone may seem lonely, but it is deeply liberating. The lone path is not one of sadness, it is the beginning of awakening. When you no longer seek approval or fear judgment, you become dangerous to mediocrity. You become a woman who is rooted, not swayed. Do not rush to fill the silence. Do not seek others just to avoid yourself. In walking alone, you meet your fear, your longing, your truth. And in that sacred meeting, your power is awakened. You begin to lead yourself. The warrior woman understands. If I must stand alone, I will. If I must be silent while others shout, I will. Because her compass is internal, her discipline is spiritual, and her journey is hers to walk. Stillness is misunderstood. It is not inaction, it is preparation. The feminine energy, when undisturbed, is magnetic. It draws, it invites, it receives. When a woman stops chasing and starts radiating, she becomes aligned with her natural power. In the monastery, we speak often of Wu Wei, effortless action. This is the wisdom of allowing things to unfold, not from laziness, but from alignment. A woman who rests in her essence does not rush. She attracts what belongs to her. Still energy does not mean passive. It means intentional. It means rooted. A tree does not chase the wind. It stands tall, and the wind flows around it. In the same way, when a woman embraces stillness, life begins to organize itself around her. Feminine stillness is not weakness. It is mastery. In her calm presence, people soften. In her gaze, truth is seen. She doesn't demand space. She becomes the space. When your inner world is chaotic, the outer world will always mirror that back to you. But when a woman finds inner peace, not by escaping life, but by understanding it, her entire reality begins to harmonize. Peace is not given, it is cultivated like a sacred garden. Inner peace arises when you stop fighting yourself, when you stop resisting your emotions, your journey, your truth. It requires acceptance, not apathy. You don't need to fix everything outside of you. You only need to master what is happening within. A woman rooted in peace is unshakable. People feel it when she walks into a room. Her silence is not absence, it is presence. And this presence becomes her power, not loud, not forceful, just complete. So let go of the need to control everything. Tend to your breath, your posture, your thoughts. Watch how the external world bends in response to the frequency you hold. Inner peace is not just spiritual, it's practical, it's transformational. You don't need to explain your boundaries to everyone. A boundary is not a wall, it is clarity. It is the line you draw to protect your energy, your growth, and your healing. A silent woman with strong boundaries commands more respect than a loud woman with none. The Shaolin teachings remind us that true warriors don't waste energy on unnecessary fights. In the same way, you don't need to justify why you say no. You simply say it, calmly, cleanly, without guilt. When you over-explain, you invite doubt. You open the door to negotiation. But your worth is not up for negotiation. When you know who you are, you don't need approval. Your boundaries are a reflection of your self-respect. And remember, silence is a complete sentence. Let it speak for you. Sometimes the most powerful act a woman can make is to walk away in silence and let her absence explain what her words never could. Each interaction, each conversation, each thought, you're spending energy, but are you spending it consciously? Or are you giving your energy away to things that drain you? A focused woman watches her energy like a monk guards his temple. You don't owe your energy to every conversation, every invitation, or every emotion. You must learn to pause and ask, is this worthy of my attention? Is this aligned with my peace? Because what you give your energy to grows. When you stay silent, you can feel the energy of a room. You begin to sense the undercurrents. You notice what feels heavy and what feels nourishing. And you learn to protect your life force with sacred discipline. Energy doesn't lie. When you focus on yourself, you gather it. When you stay silent, you preserve it. And when you finally act, you act from a place of deep alignment, not reaction. Just as nature moves in cycles, so too must we honor our own seasons. There is a time for blooming, and there is a time for retreat. For many women, the urge to constantly do leads to burnout. But there is immense wisdom in stepping back. When a woman withdraws, not out of defeat but intention, she regenerates. She becomes like the moon, hidden but still present. Her power doesn't diminish, it deepens. She is no longer scattering her energy outward, but drawing it inward. This withdrawal may confuse others. They may think you're distant, cold, or lost. But in truth, you are healing. You are remembering. You are shedding the noise so that your essence can re-emerge undistorted. So do not fear your quiet seasons. They are sacred. They are your cocoon. And when the time is right, you will re-emerge, not as who you were, but as who you truly are. In the temple, we are taught that before a word leaves your mouth, your energy has already spoken. In modern life, many rely on words to create impressions, but a woman aligned with herself doesn't need to convince anyone. Her presence does the talking. Words can be deceptive. Energy cannot. When you walk into a room with self-respect, with dignity, with peace, others feel it. They may not know why they're drawn to you or why they listen when you speak, but they do, because your energy is congruent. This is why silence is powerful, because in silence, there's no mask, just truth. When you practice aligning your internal state with your external actions, your energy becomes clean, precise, magnetic. Let your energy speak first. Then, if needed, let your words follow, but only if they add value. Sometimes the most profound messages are delivered without a single sound. The body moves where the mind leads. Before you can master your life, you must master your thoughts. And for women especially, the inner dialogue becomes either a cage or a key. When you become aware of your thoughts, you begin the path to mastery. Most suffering comes not from the world, but from how we interpret the world. The mind spins stories, doubts, fears. But when you observe the mind without reacting, you reclaim your freedom. You stop being the story and return to being the author. A focused woman trains her mind daily. She disciplines her attention. She selects her thought as carefully as she selects her words, because she understands what I feed in the mind, I manifest in life. Train your mind in stillness, in presence, in clarity. As the mind becomes still, the life becomes steady. And suddenly, what felt chaotic begins to fall into place. There is a difference between walking with purpose and walking with pressure. Purpose comes from the heart. Pressure comes from outside noise. When a woman focuses on herself, she begins to hear the subtle voice of purpose calling her. Pressure says, do more. Purpose says, do what matters. Pressure rushes. Purpose is steady. Pressure demands. Purpose guides. When you move from purpose, your actions align. They feel lighter, yet more powerful. You don't have to live on fire to prove your worth. You only have to live in truth. And truth is quiet. It's not showy or loud. It simply is. A woman on purpose walks slowly but arrives exactly where she's meant to be. Release the need to keep up. Tune into your own rhythm. You were never meant to fit the mold. You were meant to shape your path with every silent, sacred step. Healing cannot be rushed, and it cannot be done for you. When a woman chooses to heal herself, not to impress, not to perform, but to truly be free, she becomes unstoppable. Because her healing is real. Healing often happens in silence, behind closed doors, away from the crowd. It's not glamorous, it's gritty. It requires facing pain without flinching. It means forgiving without hearing "I'm sorry." It means choosing yourself even when others wouldn't. And yet this solitude in healing is empowering, because you realize you are your own savior, you are your own sanctuary, and you no longer need others to validate your journey. So take your time, sit with your wounds, learn their language, let your silence be your medicine. And one day you will rise, not healed by others, but reborn by your own courage. You don't need to post everything. You don't need to speak constantly. Your life, your energy, your peace, that is your message. When a woman is deeply at home in herself, people feel it. She becomes a living reminder that calm is power. You don't need to explain your growth. Leave it. You don't need to announce your healing. Embody it. You don't need to argue your worth. Walk in it. This is how presence speaks, through embodiment, not explanation. Every time you choose peace over proving, clarity over chaos, discipline over distraction, you're sending a message that says, I am not here to impress. I am here to live aligned. So let your presence speak where words fail. Let your posture teach what your lips don't say. Be so deeply rooted in yourself that the world adjusts, not the other way around. All roads ultimately lead back to the self. When a woman stops chasing, performing, reacting, she returns to the body, to the breath, to the present moment. And in that return, life meets her again. The truth is, nothing outside you needs to change for you to be at peace. It is the returning to yourself that changes how everything appears. The chaos quiets, the noise softens, not because it disappeared, but because you are no longer entangled with it. When you stay silent, you can finally hear what the universe has been whispering all along. You are enough as you are, without needing to perform, prove, or please. And from this grounded self-acceptance, everything begins to fall into place. So walk this path gently, not to escape the world, but to become one with it, not to prove your power, but to remember it. For the woman who focuses on herself and stays silent does not lose her voice. She finds it, and it echoes through everything she touches. We live in a world where constant noise is mistaken for strength, and endless motion is confused with progress. But true power does not shout. It does not chase. True power is quiet. It is focused. It is deeply rooted in presence. When a woman chooses to focus on herself, not out of isolation but out of reverence for her own path, she begins to embody that quiet power. She no longer scatters her energy trying to fix, to prove, to be understood. Instead, she gathers her energy like a disciplined monk gathers his breath, purposefully, mindfully, with intention. The silence she holds is not emptiness, it is fullness. It is full of wisdom, of reflection, of growth. And in that silence, she becomes magnetic. She does not need to ask for space. Her very presence becomes a space where clarity exists, where peace enters, where truth is felt. And slowly, without resistance or struggle, everything around her begins to shift. People, situations, opportunities, they either align or fall away. Not because she forced anything, but because she finally stopped forcing herself to be anything other than who she truly is. This is the quiet revolution, the silent transformation, where nothing is shouted, yet everything is heard, where no steps are chased, yet all paths align, where the woman, fully present within herself, no longer waits for permission to be whole, because she realizes she always was. So to every woman listening, trust your silence, honor your stillness, focus your energy inward, and watch as life begins to flow in harmony with your truth. Not louder, not faster, but deeper, more peacefully, more fully, because when you focus on yourself and stay silent, not out of pride, but out of peace, everything that is meant for you no longer needs to be chased. It simply arrives.